It says we're live. Let's see if we're live. Check 1, 2. I look like I'm well peaked here, so I'll assume we're okay. Okay, anybody, if you can hear me out there, you need to send me a quick text. Just type something in the chat window saying that you hear me, because I'm so paranoid that nobody hears me. What if you said an AMA and nobody came? All right, here we go. Okay. Got a little bit of input. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Hi, everybody. This is Mike Meyers, and welcome to the Wednesday edition of the Mike Meyers Ask Mike Anything live stream. The goal of this live stream is to provide those of us who are isolated by the coronavirus an opportunity to continue our studies on our certifications. Now, here at Total Seminars, we concentrate on CompTIA certifications, in particular the holy trinity of A+, Net+, and Security+, but we're certainly capable of moving outside of that and even into non-CompTIA certifications as well. So, welcome aboard. Now, the goal of this live stream is, as its name is, Ask Mike Anything. So you ask me questions, just type them into the chat window, and then I answer them. One of the things you might want to do is in your chat window, right now it may say Top Chat at the top. Hit that pull down and change it to Live Chat. That gets the YouTube algorithm out of the way. And also while you're at it, where it now says Live Chat, to the right are 3 dots. You might want to go ahead and toggle your timestamps. Make sure that your timestamps are on, please. And then that way we know that you are here. And yes, I am giving away free practice questions today, and I'm also giving away a CompTIA voucher today. So the whole idea here is that you type questions into the chat, and then I answer them. It's just that easy. Now, if you have long questions, or if you're the shy type of person who would rather not type something in, where there's another way to do this, send me an email. You can send me an email to michaelm@totalsem.com. That's me, michaelm@totalsem.com. If you're a gamer, I am Senor Pepe on Steam, and if you and just about anything else, I'm Desweds. That's DESWEDS. So if you want to know what my I'm trying to think of something old MySpace account is, Desweds, or if I'm logging into Wikipedia to make corrections, I'm Desweds. So Desweds is a good way to know who I am as well. So welcome, everybody. Now, we have been in the middle of discussing routers, and I've got some good news and some bad news today. Let's start with the bad news. The bad news is we're not going to talk about routers today, and the reason is very simple. We have been talking about routing and moving into static routing now for really 3 episodes, and I think they've been, actually, I found them to be very interesting episodes and well worth rewatching. However, today's goal was to get a little bit more practical static routing and start moving into dynamic routing. And folks, I don't have a good way to teach you. Now, hold on a minute. I have 100 great ways to teach you, but I was getting ready and I was setting up in my old traditional way to teach this, which is with physical equipment. Usually if I'm teaching instructor-led training for routing, you'll work with a partner and you will have in front of you a Soho router with wireless and a built-in switch, some typical home routing system. You're going to have some low-end, entry-level enterprise router. There's a lot of them out there. And then third, I'm usually going to get a couple of enterprise-level devices in there, like real Cisco switches at the very least, if not routers, just because people like playing with Cisco stuff, and if you're going to be into routers and switches, you're going to have to learn Ciscoese at some point. So that's never a bad way to go about that. However, so I started setting all this up, and I even had a second camera set up and a special table for all this, and I'm realizing that while that is a fine way to teach instructor-led, it is a terrible way to teach you guys. And I need to warn you, anybody who's silly enough to show up on this AMA, you are going to be a guinea pig for me. I just realized I didn't have my microphone on. Nobody said anything. That just shows you I've got a big mouth, huh? Let me double check the chats. Is everybody being able to hear me? I like to route your concepts. Oh, okay. Well, all right. So sorry about that. I guess I'm all right. The other big thing is, okay, so how am I going to teach routing in a more remote type environment, which I've never really done before? So the obvious answer is I'm going to use, one of the built-in simulation type tools, Packet Tracer by Cisco, GNS3, and build it that way. But I started playing with those yesterday, and I wasn't real happy with that either. It started turning stuff into a Cisco class as opposed to a routing class. And I'm not opposed to doing a Cisco type class. And in fact, that probably ought to be something I ought to do in the future, even though Cisco's barely touched on CompTIA. It is touched on a little bit. So instead, what I've decided to do is I'm going to skip my routing conversation for today. I'm prepared to answer any questions on any of the previous 3 sessions we've had. So I'm glad to talk about routing. But in terms of moving into practical routing, I am feverishly working on setting up what's probably going to be, well, you think about it, you got a lot of choices. Number one, I can use all real equipment, real laptops, real switches, real routers. And I've got all that equipment. We could do that. That's number one. The problem is that's going to be hard for you to recreate at home. Okay. So number 2, I could do something cheaper like that. For example, maybe we could do it with real equipment, but use Raspberry Pis or more inexpensive equipment. I'm not against that. However, it still puts you guys in a little bit of a disadvantage because you'd still end up having to buy, even if you're just doing this with Raspberry Pis, you'd still need monitors and keyboards, stuff like that. We're still talking north of probably $300 to $400 tax, title, and license once you have all the equipment that you need. I can do it all virtually in a virtual machine. And this is what's actually kind of interesting, guys. So one of the things I was doing yesterday and somewhat today is I was downloading some of these tools, in particular GNS3, which is a simulation tool I have some familiarity with. And I'm downloading the tool, and while I'm downloading it, the GNS3 straight up says, hey man, you want to do this in a virtual machine? And I'm like, I had not considered this. GNS3 is a piece of software you download, you put it on your machine. I hadn't thought about that. I'm thinking maybe, yes, I would want to do that on a virtualized machine. So that's the other thing to do. But what I think I'm going to do instead is I'm going to skip the simulations completely. I reserve the right to change my mind. I'm going to be a very busy beaver between now and Monday. But it looks like what I'm going to do is I'm just going to install a nice little routing firewall tool, something like pfSense or something like that, and I'll just set that up within a Linux box in a virtual machine and then treat that as a router. So unfortunately, guys, can you believe it? I could not get ready in 2 days for completely changing the way I teach routing. But you know what? I think it's going to be worth it. And please bear with me. Again, I'm prepared to answer any routing questions you have today, as long as any other AMA question you might have. I'm extremely confident that by come next Monday, I will have everything set up and running. What makes this particularly important, guys, is because I need routers that can actually do dynamic routing. And when you start getting to virtualized devices, that can be a little tricky. So I need routers that can do things like RIP, OSPF, and in particular BGP. The main reason is I have never set up a BGP router in the real world. It's a very enterprise kind of thing, and I've just never done it. And I think it's time for me to go about doing that. Things are moving around all over here. Poltergeist, I forgot to spray. So anyway, bear with me, guys, and I apologize. However, we are still giving away free practice questions today. We're going to give away a free CompTIA voucher today, and very, very exciting. Looking forward to doing all that today, and we will pick back up on lots of routing come Monday. All right, so let me, with that in mind, oh, by the way, we start here at 2 o'clock Central Standard Time here in Houston, Texas, and we will go till 3 o'clock. So this is a 1-hour thing. We can run a little bit longer if there's really pressing issues, but we can also cut it short if the questions run a little short. Will Shaw, Delta Airlines. Yeah, Will Shaw. We'll be glad to come out to Delta and talk about all that stuff. More than glad. In fact, more importantly, Will Shaw, I'm curious, what is Delta Airlines using now that I can crush? Crush. All right. Da-da-ba. So anytime you see me turning my head like this, folks, it's because I'm reading the chat window and I'm looking for questions. Yeah, and we have hats. Yeah, I have hats, guys, because quite simply, my hair is a wreck. And here, you guys want to laugh? Yeah, look at this. Look at this mess. So not only is it snow frickin' white hair, when did I get this old? But more importantly, it's like a halo, and it glows, and it points all these different directions. So I'm just taking care of this problem very simply by leaving one of my drumming hats on there. I'm wearing it like a sailor hat. There we go. All right. So that's why, and I'll probably be wearing hats for a while. I don't know where you live, but Coronas has really spiked here in the Texas area. And I'm paranoid, so we'll see what happens. All right. So let's look for some questions here. Will Shaw, make sure you can, Will Shaw, if you're still on, send me an email, michaelm@totalsem.com. All right. All right, let's see who we got here. All right, JM at 2:03 p.m. Is it still necessary to use rollover cables to manage modern switches, or do most of them now allow us to use regular 568B straight cable? On initial setup, when you pull a router out of the box, on its very first setup, it is still fairly common to use the console port, which is what you're saying there. So JM, is it still necessary to use rollover cables to manage modern switches? There's no requirement. To look for ultimate statements in our industry is foolishness. There is no 2 + 2 = 4 in the world of IT, especially when we're talking about devices. In general, most managed devices today will have built-in IP addresses, a default IP, which will allow you to handle most of their remote configurations that way. Most of the more enterprise type routers, you will use the console port because most of them, all the remote connectivity isn't even turned on by default. You can't generally, there's 1,000 exceptions to this, you generally cannot plug in a brand new Cisco router or switch, plug into it and start talking to a web page. Mainly because it has to be, you have to turn that capability on. Your little Soho home router, it has configuration is always on. There's no way to turn it off. It's just there. But on a lot of the more enterprise stuff, you can literally turn off that entire interface completely. And for example, require only using SSH as a tool set to get in there. But even SSH is usually turned off. So yes, JM, on initial first setup, you're probably still going to be using that console port. Or do most of them now allow you to use a regular 568B straight cable? Once the initial setup is done, depending on what you've chosen to set up, maybe you've got your switch or router only configured to use SSH. But then you could use a regular connection to that to get you the answer that you're looking for. TD Washington's here. I like to route your concepts. Oh. Straight path. He looks like an African king. Wow, really? I really do like these hats a lot. Eddie can hear me good. Norvik. Oh, here we go. So the other thing I need to warn you guys is when I'm scrolling through this looking for your questions, these YouTube chat windows, I'll scroll for a little bit and then all of a sudden it goes and super scrolls and then I'm lost. So I'm trying very hard to make sure I don't miss anything. 206, Cisco Rodriguez, what a name. Do you offer Windows Server training? We don't have any particular, we've got a few MCSE type courses. I don't know what you mean by Windows Server training. For most people today, MCSE, the courses that you take would be Windows Server training. I guess you'd need to ask me what aspect of Windows Server do you want to do, like an introduction? Mr. Bildo, where can I buy a hat like this? I think I got this one on Etsy. Andre likes my hat. Good. Crystal Hamilton, you could create VR training. I can't believe that CompTIA put A+, put VR, virtual reality, on the A+. I'm not, look, I like virtual reality. We have VR systems. We play with them. But I don't think that they're mainstream enough to warrant putting them on a certification. It's my opinion. So we'll see. JM, we are your guinea pigs for new teaching. Yes, you are, JM. You guys very much are guinea pigs for a lot of my ideas. So I appreciate you being understanding. Mohammed El Abad, hello, Mohammed, good to see you again, brother. Cisco DevNet, Alex, I have not looked at Cisco DevNet Sandbox. The problem is I don't really, I want my initial discussion on routing not to be all about Cisco. And I think there's definitely a place where you're going to have to learn Cisco iOS to move forward in your career. There absolutely is. But I don't like, in IT instruction, what you want to do is build a concept based on concepts they've already learned, and you don't want to make it too big of a jump, right? And the problem you run into, and I run into this problem with other technical instructors more than any place else. A technical instructor will make a decision and they'll go, oh, well, if we're going to teach them routing, then we need to teach them Cisco. And it's like, well, if you teach them Cisco, let me say that again. Most IT instructors would rather be complete on a topic than to be incomplete, which I disagree. I think a lot of times in IT instruction, in our desperate attempt to cover everything, we lose the student, we lose the viewer. So something I've done for a long time is, well, I lied to you, and I don't have any problem with it. Even last Monday when we were talking about routing tables, you'll notice that the first couple of examples of routing tables didn't have a metric in it. Now, some people, if they're sharp students or if they've already had experience with routing tables, they're going to yell. They're going to go, why didn't you cover metric? And the answer is because it's not time. It's not time. And I waited until we had a 2 ISP scenario, which would actually motivate you for understanding why metrics exist. So I would rather be incomplete as long as I'm getting concepts to you, and then I'll apologize through the training. And anybody who's watched any of my videos has picked up on me going, okay, I have lied to you, or something like that, as I add more important things. Get the concept down and then build the exceptions into the concept, and people are going to learn better. So that's why I don't want to use DevNet, because it's the same problem we're going to run into. But, I am looking at it. Thank you for bringing it up, guys. You folks here on this AMA really don't know how powerful you guys are. How much things that you say to me, the way you react to things, emails, these have huge impact on me, more than just about anybody else. So I don't remember who said DevNet that I'm disagreeing with, but that doesn't make me wrong. It just makes me moving forward. But thank you, Alex. I'm going to check it out a little bit more. All right, so first of all, guys, just because y'all are kind enough to show up today, we've got AMA special deals. So this week, you got 50% off, so you can buy a book, okay? So let's say you want to study Security Plus. You can get a Security Plus book and the practice questions that are associated with that for 50% off. Guys, we're already the cheapest out there of the quality IT training out there. And so at 50% off, that's unreal. To take advantage of this deal, all you have to do is go to www.totalsem, that's TOTALSEM.com, head over to the merchant area, get a book, an ebook. It's got to be an ebook, okay? Pick an ebook and then some practice questions. Get the idea? Bundle those together. And for you to bundle them, all you got to do is put them in your cart. So get an A+ book and then get your practice questions, okay? The total tester. And then on checkout, all you have to do is type in, what's the magic code for this one? Rubicon, as in you have crossed the Rubicon. Rubicon. Just type that in at checkout and you get 50% off. Ta-da! How great is that? All right. Connor Wellman, learning MS Defender and 365 plus Azure. Ooh, that's a lot of work for just a small law office, but good training. Hey, as long as you're getting a paycheck while you're learning, right, man? Avocado, good to see you again. Hello, everyone watching down here, down in South for a week for onboarding, learning so much, loving it. Excellent. That's what it's all about. Learning is the most important thing. TD Washington, good to see you again. Was the problem on Monday due to YouTube? Oh, yes. Yeah, guys, sorry about that. We had a competition on Monday, and one of the answers was an IP address, and we've now discovered that YouTube blocks, when you type out an IP address, YouTube blocks it. So I had a lot of people going, why didn't you pick me as the winner? And the answer is I didn't see them because YouTube blocked them all. They even blocked them on Top Chat. They block it on live chat as well as Top Chat. Osama studied. Hello, Mike. I like your way and I'm studying CompTIA A+ now. Good luck to you. Jeremy Parker, 214. Is it possible to create your own cloud? Sure. Why? Jeremy Parker, the cloud is just a server, correct? Well, yes, the cloud is just a server. But saying the cloud is just a server is kind of like just saying all Microsoft does is write software and put it in a box. It's a lot more to it than that. Yes, it's a server that's in a cloud, but unlike a more classic cloud-based service like a Rackspace or a co-location server, you don't really, not only do you not only own the server, you have no understanding about physically what it is outside of a VM that might be spun up under IaaS. Yeah, I've had this argument a long time ago. To me, I've always said literally anything on the internet is cloud-based, but whatever. You can set up a free cloud account on Azure and on Amazon. Why not just do that? In fact, there's other cloud providers out there that are also free. I'm just an Amazon Azure kind of guy, so I stick with those. Mike, what is your VR headset of choice? What are we using? Andrew Hutz, Dave Rush will answer that for you. Will Shaw, at Mike. All right, here's a question. A person has a CompTIA trifecta but does not work in IT. What would you recommend to meet the CE requirements to keep the certs? I'm guessing pay him for the CE course. Yeah, CompTIA's got a pretty good lock on the CE course. However, do keep in mind that almost anything you do online can argue as ongoing training. I would be tempted for somebody, I can't do it myself, but I would be tempted for somebody to go over to the CompTIA website and go, I've been going to Mike Meyers AMAs and I'm going to treat that as extended, as continuing education. I wonder what CompTIA would say. Mine are free. Osama study, is there a roadmap for red teaming? Not that I'm aware of. JM, should I include my Try Hack Me certifications in my resume? When in doubt, I would. Dave Rush posted into our Discord channel just yesterday a wonderful article from the UK that had to do with some people who were doing entry-level IT breaking in and what did it mean. And one of the things that helped this one particular person get in was in their CV. Now, keep in mind, this is entry level, okay? In their CV, they posted, oh, doggone it, I'm not going to say it right. Bear with me, guys. basically they posted some of the labs that they were doing and that it was very interesting. Okay. Darius Bryant. Hey, good to see you, Darius. One eye perspective. Is it better to get A+ certification or get cloud certification? AWS or Azure, or learn both? The challenge with certification is certifications are mainly for your next job. Okay? So what was that? One eye perspective at 217. So one eye perspective, you got to make some choices, man. You got to say, where do I want to go? So yeah, getting the trifecta is great. But then, is it better to get A+ or get cloud? One eye perspective, where are you in life? If you're working for Best Buy or Micro Center or some of these, then the A+ is going to be a better offer. But once you've got the A+ and you're working there, then if you want to get into cloud, then yes, then cloud would be your next best choice. But the nice thing about the CompTIA trifecta of A+, Net+, and Security Plus is it gives you a core-based knowledge that just about anybody's going to respect that will get your foot in the door so that you can talk to people and then show them how great you are. And that's what gets you hired. The certifications don't get you hired. Certifications get your foot in the door. It's a great technical interview. It's good rapport. It's soft skills, maintaining eye contact. Things like that are very, very important. Looking for questions. Another big super scroll, of course. Esteban at 220. Hi, Mike. I used your test of Network Plus, scored an 85, but I still don't feel confident to do the exam. What would you recommend? Keep practicing. Keep practicing. With practice questions, you ought to be hitting 90% or so. Chris_Kent at 221. I'm going for my CompTIA Plus certification. I would like to know what entry-level position should I go for after I pass. Anything you can get your hands on. Your first job in IT is anything you can grab. So it's going to be a help desk or driving around in a van clearing off viruses or sitting behind a counter or sitting deep in the depths of some depot working on motherboards. But the thing you got to remember is your first job is the least important job. Your first job gets you in the door, but no. Sorry, I'm getting lots of information coming in. Bear with me, guys. Peter McDermott. Hi, Mike Meyers. Could you please help me know more about HDSL? What would you like to know about it? So when digital subscriber line was first invented 15 years ago, it was the first real competitor to cable for broadband. The downside to DSL is because it was designed to run on the last mile on regular phone lines, is that created some real limitations to it. And so DSL is still alive and well today, kids. It's just that it comes out in different manifestations. Most people who have fiber that comes into their home, unless it's a native Ethernet type of connection, which does happen these days. I have native Ethernet coming into my house. Most fiber optic connections are DSL. Now, they're going to have other alternative names. No one's going to call them DSL, but it's a DSL signal. A lot of times you hear VDSL. But high-speed DSL, as I remember high-speed DSL, that was kind of an old term. It was like the second generation of DSL devices that were finally breaking past the 1.7, whatever it is, megabit per second of regular T1 lines. And this was the first time that people started going, why do we use these old T1s or T3s, these old telephone solutions, when we have, designed for the internet DSL solutions that run faster? And that's why today T1 is, knock on wood, I'm sure somebody still uses it, but I don't know who they are. Because most of us are using DSL. Okay, most of us are using DSL, cable, or native Ethernet. Scott Jernigan is going crazy on Dropbox today. So Chris _Kent, couple of things you need to talk. Number one, you should be putting a resume together now if you haven't already. That resume is going to include your education. It's going to include, sorry, my nose is driving me crazy. It's going to include your education, whatever experience you have, which includes non-paid experience. Anytime you're helping in a charitable situation or anything like that, you can put that in. Entry level is a different animal altogether. And Chris Kent, you need to be looking on like LinkedIn and Indeed and some of these and search on entry level. It shocked me how powerful a lot of these job search, online search tools are, and nobody takes advantage of it. Mohammed's got his first badge A+. Add more in the future. Go for it, man. Andre, you print my ebooks? Oh boy, I'm not even going to touch that. Rabahar Bouyan, what is the difference between spoofing, impersonating, and Trojan horse and rough? Well, I'm going to skip rough for right now. What's the difference between spoofing? Spoofing is a form of impersonation. Impersonation is a very broad concept, which basically means I'm pretending to be somebody. I could put on a baseball uniform and pretend like I'm a famous baseball player. That is an impersonation, but that's not spoofing. When we say spoofing, that is a uniquely IT world where I am doing something in my communication to pretend to be someone else. For example, if I sent you an email and I spoofed a return address of Bill Gates, not that hard to do, by the way, that would be spoofing. Or if I'm pretending to be another wireless access point to get your laptop to attack it, that's spoofing. So spoofing is an impersonation, but is uniquely an impersonation to an IT protocol, signal, device, or person, or I said device, in order to do nefarious things. What was the other one? Spoofing, impersonation, Trojan horse. So a Trojan horse has nothing to do with spoofing or impersonation. Rob Hart, why do people put these things together like this? Rob Hart, I am not picking on you. I don't even know you, so I can't pick on you. But I find it interesting. This would be the kind of thing I'd love to have a cup of coffee and sit down with you to answer just this one question. Why do you put spoofing, impersonating, Trojan horse, and rough together in a question? So many times, because I'm interested in the theory of learning, I find it fascinating that you would put those four things together in a question. Rob Hart, you don't even owe me an answer. You don't. If you're feeling particularly helpful, though, Rob Hart, if you could send me an email to michaelm@totalsem.com and kind of explain to me what your thought process was. A lot of times the thought process is nothing more than you're using somebody else's practice questions, and those are your options. And you're like, where did it come from? And that's fine too. Anyway, a Trojan horse is any device. A Trojan horse is an executable that you think it's going to do one thing and it does something else. That's it. So a Trojan horse is something that pretends to be something else. And in general, the execution of that Trojan horse causes naughtinesses to happen. But that's all a Trojan horse means. And then the term rough, I don't even know what that means in this context. Mm-hmm. Is Python a good skill for an IT technician? Yes. I think any degree of competency in any good scripting language is a good thing to have as a tech. Be warned that if the developers of your business start discovering you're a Python person, they may try to suck you into the world of coding permanently, which to me is like the most sad thing ever, because doing nothing but writing code is sadness and you don't get out much. Yes, learning Python would be a good one. JavaScript would be the other. PowerShell would be the other. Darius Bryant, any experience working with an MSP, a Microsoft certified professional? Any pros and cons? The pros, you have access to some of the Microsoft toys that are kind of fun, TechNet and things like that. The downside is, you have to pay for things. But generally, no, there's nothing wrong with it. How are we doing on time? 2:37, plenty of time. Okay, JM again at 2:30. Would installing cable internet and cable television to home users for a cable company be considered an IT job? Sure, and it's an interesting job. Here in the United States, that's almost always contractors, so it's not super well paid. But cable pulling is a kind of a niche sort of industry within our industry. I wouldn't consider it a full-blown IT job in the classic sense, because you have a very, very specialized job you're doing. You're going to locations and you're pulling fiber optic or copper cable. There are even certifications. Look up BICSI, B-I-S-C-I. God bless it, I always forget this. B-I-S-C-I, is it BICSI? B-I-C-S-I. Let me pull this up so you guys can see this. So if you're serious about getting into that world, you might want to check out BICSI. They're really good for cable pulling certifications and skill sets. And BICSI certification is one of those few certifications out there that pretty much guarantee you a job. If you get like the top level BICSI certification, like pretty much all low powered cable in blueprints today have to be signed off by BICSI certified people. Just depends on what town you're in and who signs that off. So BICSI might be something for you to consider. Steve, JG24, JG24? Is that what I think it stands for? I was looking for a German Air Force, German Luftwaffe. So JG is the term for squadrons. Okay, not it. No. All right, back to it. Okay, so Steve JG24. I did the CompTIA classes online, but found the price for tests were really high. Is it necessary to take the tests? If you want the certifications, you have to take the tests. I'll tell you that there are some situations at entry level where I've seen people say, I took courses, but I never took the exam and it worked. I wouldn't risk it though. Steve JG24, do keep in mind that we don't give away of a contest for free vouchers here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So stick around. We've only got a little over 40 people in here. How crazy is that? How's that for good odds for winning a voucher? We got a lot of questions today. I'm glad we didn't do more routing today. It's 2:40 already. Thomas Robinson at 2:32. Hey, Mike, do you think someday our brains will have implantable brain-machine interfaces to control the internet through our thoughts and minds. What's wrong with using our fingers? We do it great already. You really think about, when we talk about interfacing, we have wonderful interfacing. We have these keyboards, and I can just press on them and interface with the machine with that. To a lower extent, I have voice capability, you know. I can say things, but it always gets people mad when I do it. Are we going to have bio ports one day, like in the movie Existence? I don't know. Probably not. What I could see is that we could probably have improvements in interfacing that would reduce typing needs dramatically, or at least reduce it to maybe some kind of universal type controller, a physical controller, or a virtualized controller. There's a lot of interesting studies that are going on right now for the concept. Remember Google Glass? Well, there's a lot of augmented reality type glasses that are out there now. None of them are really prime time, but they're getting there. And some of those, I think, could dramatically change the interface. That probably, if there's anything I was going to say that would disappear, it could very well be this. And this could be replaced by virtualized inputs and some kind of screen popping up on your glasses. We're getting closer all the time. We learned a lot from Google Glass. I always wish I had bought a Google Glass back in the day. We learned a lot about what people can tolerate or not tolerate in terms of interface. It also allowed us to learn what people will tolerate or not tolerate in terms of perceived, what's the word I'm looking for? There's too many people watching me right now. Observation, reconnaissance, trying to come up with a better word. And that it'd be interesting to see what can happen in the not too distant future from there. I think we're all going to start wearing burqas or something like that, or maybe beekeeper elements or something that where I can talk to humans, but computers can't automatically start talking to me. That's my opinion. Thomas Robinson, oh, we got that one. 232, Scott Levine. Do you know the difference between the newer N1008 and the older N1007? I do. So you want me to spend 20 minutes telling you what the difference is? Scott, we've got some good stuff out there already. I don't remember off the top of my head. We finished that book 2 months ago, so there's some enterprise stuff on there, in particular like data centers that wasn't on there before. It's trimmed up, tightened up the number of operating systems you need to know, like knowing Windows 10/11 and any Linux bash shell, and you're probably fine in terms of operating systems. Those are the big things. Oh, Darius Bryant, he doesn't mean Microsoft. He means a managed service provider. Yeah, Darius, MSPs are probably the most common type of entry-level job for IT security people. There's lots of great jobs out there. I work with other companies right now. Probably managed service providers are the single most high demand of open slots. MSPs have some tough jobs. Keep in mind, most of the time MSPs work in a 24/7 environment. So if you're going to work for an MSP, you could be on the midnight till 8 in the morning shift, which is going to stink at first, but you know, you do what you got to do. I did the midnight till 8 in the morning shift thing back in the day. Here, how long ago was it? The first number of my age started with a 1. So I'll let you guys figure it out from there. You were only 1 year old? Yep, that's me. Norvik, my question is, I'm almost finishing my Core 1 when I'm reviewing from beginning some detail like speed of USB 3, or I can't remember. How important are they for the test? USB speeds are important for the A+. Just sit down and memorize them. think we've even got a table in the A+ book just for that. Andre's backpedaling now. Oh, I don't have to print your books. All good. Oh, JG24 is Jeff Gordon. Gotcha. Should have thought about that. Avocado. Google Glass was funny because of the backlash due to privacy concerns. Yeah. It can be an issue. David Mueller at 245. I don't think there was a perceived need for Google Glass back then. In today's climate of recording proof body cams, it seems more tolerable. Yeah, I got to tell you, David, I'm this close to wearing a body camera permanently. I find myself in a world where people like making my life more and more difficult all the time. And I'm also terrible at remembering what people said when. And I'm surrounded by a lot of people who are like, well, Mike, you said 2 + 2 = 5. And I'm like, I don't think I said 2 + 2 = 5. But I keep cameras in my home that point at my front door, my back door, my garage, stuff like that. I have cameras in my cars. I have cameras front and back. I probably ought to have a camera on my person. You know, it's interesting. Can I take a little sidebar? How much time we got? 2:47. We got time for me to pontificate on something, and then we'll do some competitions and give away some fun stuff. But let me pontificate first. When I was a kid, like in the 70s, and everybody was so uptight in the 70s, and we used to make jokes about what we called the blue hair old ladies, and they're all just like being all judgmental and, oh, that's reprehensible, and this is bad, and you can't do that. And I didn't like those people as a class of people because I was like, let's be free. Let's, if I want to grow my hair long, then I should be able to grow my hair long or whatever it might be. And I almost kind of feel that the internet has replaced our blue-haired old ladies. The internet is now a place where anybody who says anything is going to be judged for it. And like the only people who are barely left available to have any kind of free speech are comedians, and even they're under attack. You know, we live in a world where we got a Chinese premier who is now president for life. Geez, how many warning flags do you need on that alone? And we've got a Russian president who, I don't even know if he's a president, but he's in there for life. And there's never been a time in human memory that I can, certainly in my lifetime, but even I'm a bit of a history nut, that other than certain repressive societies where we've never been more limited in what we can say. It's unreal, and it bothers me. I want to stress to all of you that you are welcome to offend me anytime you want. This is a unilateral statement. I have the right. I believe that you have the right to free speech, and I have the right to turn you off if you're a jerk. And I would hope you would treat me in the same fashion. No, nothing's happened to me personally, folks. But I'm surrounded by people who are, it's amazing to me, this bunker mentality that I'm starting to run into. And I think that the culprit is simply too much communication. And too much communication where you don't have to put your name on it. I'm now at a point in life where someone criticizes me. If I don't know their name, their criticism is meaningless. Or if I don't know their real name. For example, if my buddy Andre, who's been on here at least every week now for over a year, if Andre said something to me that was mean and cutting and rude, I would listen to what he had to say because I know him and I have a rapport with him. If somebody who came up to me who had great CV, a great instructor, or a great statesman, or somebody like that came up to me and said something offensive to me, I would listen to those words. But I don't listen to things like even here. It's It's not important to me. And nobody's saying anything rude to me. We actually have a lovely crowd today. But I get nervous about these things. So, all right. All right. William Jeske, that the blue-haired old ladies, no, the blue-haired old ladies now are the whoever it is who thinks that they can speak for my group or speak for your group. That we live in a group, and the conservatives all say it's social justice warriors, which is complete BS, by the way, because conservatives have it just as much. These pontificators who spew out things that either they're not true or they're not verifiable, or I don't even know who you are and therefore I don't care. So it's not, you can't pick on the progressives or the conservatives. It is a worldwide phenomena right now that happens everywhere. Toluit, I am the voice of my generation. I'm the voice of no one but myself. I've got, man, I wish I had more time, guys. I've got this whole thing about group politics and how that oh, Tom. Yeah, sorry, Tom. Tom, we're having a slow day here because I'm not doing routing today. So I'm covering a few more of my usual things. All right. Let's go ahead and get back in here. And so we got a few more minutes. It's 2:52. Let's go ahead and start giving some stuff away real quick, all right? So today we're going to be giving away, I'm going to be using from, these are from the new Network Plus. This is the N10008. This is from our test banks. All right, so here's what's about to happen. We're going to have a competition where I'm going to give away 90-day access to the practice questions you want from the Total Seminars library. We have lots and lots of practice questions out there. So before we even get started, number one, this is not a fair competition. I try to make them fair, but things sneak through. Like even on Monday, I asked a question about IP addresses as an answer, and it ends up that I couldn't see the right answer. So that's an example of we try to be fair, but sometimes we're not. All right, so anyway, so the idea here is I'm going to put a multiple choice question up on the screen. Your job is to write the answer to that multiple choice question. Do not type A, B, C, or D. Type enough of the answer that I can get an idea of what you're trying to say. So I think we've got one here. Trying to make this thing big enough so that everybody can read it. All right, so the first person who puts an answer in that I think is right wins, okay? If you've won before and you want to play, just put in the answer and type in pass, okay? So let's go ahead and I'll scroll through this. This is a big enough question that I'm going to have to scroll. So hope you got a big screen here, folks. All right, here we go. John is trying to establish an FTP connection to a computer at his office network from a remote location. The computer with the FTP server is on and has internet connectivity. Unfortunately, every time John tries to connect to the PC from his home, he is unable to connect. The IP address that John is trying to connect to is 192.168.50.100. Now, before we get into this, I know that's a private IP address. Don't use that as a criteria, okay? It's just a regular address. Treat it like a public address, even though it says 192. Let's get back to it. All right, so what's the most likely the problem? Number one, the firewall at the office is blocking outgoing traffic on port 21. Okay, that could be a possibility. The IP address that John is connected to is reserved. Oh my goodness, that could be it right there, right? He needs to install an FTP client. And he needs to install FTP. Okay, I'm pretty sure I know the answer. I'm going to let you guys go with it. There's two in here that have good arguments, but only one's right. Okay, people, let's see some answers. I've only got a couple. All right, so let's go ahead and answer this one. First of all, let's start with the ones we obviously don't need. He needs to install an FTP client on his office computer. Now, the question doesn't straight up say that. The computer tries to connect to the PC, so we can kind of assume that he's got something there. He needs to install an FTP server on his home computer. So obviously if he said FTP client on his home computer, that could be a good answer. But because he's saying FTP client on the office, remember we're trying to get to the office computer, we know C is no good. Equally, D is no good. If he said he needs to install an FTP server on his office computer, that might be good. But C and D are no good. So it's down to A and B. Firewall at the office is blocking outgoing traffic on port 21. Now, that can happen. That absolutely can happen, but the IP address John is connected to is reserved for private networks, not routable. I'm probably going to go with that. This is a tricky one. And yeah, I wrote this question back in the day, folks, and I'm not sure what the right answer is. I'm going to go with B, but I'm going to worry that I should have said A. Let's see what happened. Answer, check your answer. B is correct. Hooray. All right. The reason A is not as good of an answer is because it's very rare for home routers to block outgoing, well-known TCP ports. And 21 is very well known. So it's very rare for especially a home router to block outgoing, well-known ports. Certainly blocking incoming, no doubt. We don't want some FTP guy trying to come into our network. So the right answer was B. The IP address is a private address. What do we got? So IP address reserved. So I'm just looking for the winner. All right. So we've got a lot of people in here, but we got a lot of people passing as well. Okay. JM, you're first, but you've been winning a lot lately. So JM, like I always said, this isn't always fair. I want new people to have a shot at this. So JM, I'm going to have to let you slide, and instead I want to go with Frank. All right, at 254. So Frank, congratulations to you. Frank, you have won 90-day access to the practice questions of your choice. So in order to claim those, Frank, here's what you got to do. Frank, you have to send an email to daver@total7.com. That's daverush@total7.com. Next, you need to, in that email, make sure your YouTube name is in there, Frank. So the fact that you're Frank on YouTube tells me that you've been on YouTube for a very, very, very long time. So that's kind of cool. Also, put your email address in the body of the email. Yeah, I know you're sending an email. Just use my return email address. We've tried that before, and then people fail. And then third, which practice exam you want, and congratulations to you. Make sure you get that out on a timely basis. So well done to you, sir. Folks, hang on one sec. We're not over. We're still giving away another voucher. You the electric guys? Yes, sir. Yeah. I am online with thousands of people right now. Come on in. Let's take a look what the problem is. But I need you to be quiet for 5 minutes, okay? So just walk all the way in, walk into the back. I don't give a damn about those. You don't need those. All right, go all the way to the back. All the doors are unlocked. Breaker box is right there outside the door. Go nuts. Sorry about that, folks. I've had some problem with my electrical, and thank goodness the electricians are here. So they're going to get on that. So I apologize for that. Let's give away one more voucher today, okay? Okay. Da-da-da. One more voucher, and then we're going to call it a day. Not one more. We're giving away a voucher. Now, when I say voucher, folks, these are international vouchers. You don't have to be in the United States. If you're in a country where CompTIA gives an exam, you can play in this, okay? And also do keep in mind is that, just get things going here. I'm getting another question queued up. Bear with me just a second, folks. So in this one, I don't like that question. So again, you're going to have to type an answer in the multiple choice, and it don't type A, B, C, or D. Ooh, this is a good one. I got a very good question. It's Network Plus, and it's one of these soft skill ones that get people. You guys ready? Okay, we are competing for a CompTIA voucher. This is worth up to $400 depending on who you're talking to, okay? Also, do keep in mind, if you have won a voucher before, odds are good. I'm probably going to pass, like poor JM, who's a wonderful contributor here in all this. But JM, sorry, man, you're winning too much. We're going to David Mohan you here in a little bit. There's a long story behind that. But anyway, let's go ahead and let's dive in and let's get the answer down. You ready? Here we go. This is for a CompTIA voucher. All right. Which document is a contract that defines the scope, quality, and terms of service to be provided by a vendor? Is it an SLA, service level agreement? Is it a SOW, statement of work? Is it an acceptable use policy or a memorandum of understanding? So I'm going to let you guys poke on that one for a second. Oh, people want to see it again? Okay, hold on. Let me put it back up. All right, is it a service level agreement, statement of work, acceptable use policy, or memorandum of understanding? So the trick here is that service provided by a vendor is a bit of a clue. So that removes acceptable use policy quickly. That also removes memorandum of understanding. So is it a service level agreement or is it a statement of work? My temptation is to say that this is an SLA. Oops, I should have written an answer in. Is it SLA? I think it is. Yeah. So a service level agreement actually defines all of these qualities. And that was the clue. Scope, quality, in terms of the service to be provided. So SLA. Let's see who we got as a winner. Who said SLA first and in a way that I like? Oh, we got a lot of people. Okay, you know what? Folks, we have hit an interesting point today. And that is today, for the first time, all right, so JM, I was told behind the scenes that JM agreed to pass. Thank you, JM. I appreciate that. This is interesting because we all got different ones who says it's there. So hang on. We can't always necessarily pick the first winner. We try to pick somebody who hasn't won before. So I think I know who it is. I'm waiting for a response. All right, it's 3:05. We got to wrap this up. All right, I'm going to give this one today to TC. That's it, just TC. TC, congratulations. You are the winner of a CompTIA voucher. TC, in order to claim your voucher, There we go. In order to claim your voucher, TC, number one, you have to send an email to davr@total7.com. TC, I hope you got a pen and paper on you, man. In this email, number one, make sure your YouTube name, which is T_C, is in there. Number two, be sure to add your email address in the body of the email. Number three, your exact name is on previous CompTIA certifications. If this is your first certification, then just give a formal name, just what's your real name, something that you would sign a official document with. Number four, the country where you reside. I know it says county, it means country. So say what country you're in, and if you're a U.S. resident, what state are you in? Second to last, country where you will take the exam. For some people, they live in one country, but they may take an exam in the other country. And then last, put the exact exam number, exactly. Like for example, if you want to take the A+ 220-1002, write that out. Don't just write A+, because we have no idea what you're talking about. All right, folks. Woo! Well, congratulations for that. Number one, thank you for putting up with Mike Meyers not being ready to talk about more routing. I think that you're going to really love what I'm developing. So like right now, I'm using VirtualBox and a couple of pfSense systems that I'm going to actually start hooking all the cables to, the virtualized cables. So it should be really, really pretty to watch this. And we will be ready next Monday to start doing more routing with a virtualized network. So it should be a lot of fun. Folks, do keep in mind that this Friday, as in 2 days from now, Dave Rush, Ask Mike Anything, D-R-A-M-A, drama. Dave Rush concentrates on Raspberry Pis, and he's always got some great ideas. Folks, even if you don't care about Raspberry Pis, Dave Rush teaches you how to use Raspberry Pis to pass CompTIA certifications. So if you're worried about the cost of systems, Dave Rush has come up with way after way, if you like using physical boxes, to use Raspberry Pis instead of expensive computers to learn about all kinds of stuff. And Dave's been doing this for well over a year. He's got tons of great episodes in there. And Dave will also be giving away free practice questions and a free CompTIA voucher on Friday as well. So always good odds there. And don't forget to join in there. All right, folks, I am out the door today. And I am out the door today. I will see you guys on Monday. Be ready for routing. If you have any questions or anything on routing, you can always send me an email or check out our Discord channel. I have Dave Rush put the link for Jose Braden's Discord channel. There might have been some problems with that, but we'll see. Anyway, I am out the door here, folks. You be good, and I'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye.